It's a regular meeting, right?
That's a special meeting.
Special meeting.
You're on.
Good afternoon, all. I'd like to call to order a special meeting of the Cohoes IDA. We have, Ed, if you want to do a quick roll call.
Mr. Dion.
Here.
Ms. Carlo. Absent. Mr. Pascal. Here. Mr. Dudwire. Here. Mr. Moore. Here. Mr. DeCiro.
Possible.
Mr. Paradise.
Absent. With a quorum present, we'll go to our one and only agenda item today, and that is to do a review of our recent conversations regarding the fire sites to start getting a feel of the direction of where we want to go with this. So I'm going to do a little back history and we'll fill everybody in. So as you know, we had 2 RFPs regarding the fire sites. Is this like every meeting this happens? It really is, every single meeting. Just getting a second to go. As you know, we did 2 RFPs and we received no responses. And then after the second RFP, we did receive some interest from 2 parties. Actually, there was multiple interest, but 2 of them have put information into writing. At a co-development meeting, we reviewed the 2 proposals. Both were residential. The first one was for, help me out, Pete, maybe 18 apartments. 18 apartments. Company out of Schenectady. We have little information on. The offer on the property was substantially lower than we were anticipating. There was some confusion through economic development and reaching out and what have you. But at the time, when we reviewed with the co-development, we also heard another proposal from the Bonaquista brothers. They are looking at, again, purchasing all the sites. They are looking at doing 60 single 1-bedroom apartments. They're looking at doing, we're really trying not to use the word retail as a fair statement. We're trying to use more commercial, be it a co-working space, be it some type of small restaurant, something, a floral shop. We don't really want to focus as much as retail. So that was our initial discussion. And the co-development committee at that point decided that they were comfortable moving ahead with Bonaquista. So with that, we set up a meeting with Pete, myself, Paul, the owner, and Kate, and Steve Napier, and we were able to get much more into detail. So before all the rumors start and what have you, the baseline proposal is 60 1-bedroom apartments with some type of commercial space. That is literally where their proposal is. So we had a very good conversation with them and really stressed that we're not really thrilled with just that type of that many apartments and what have you. They were completely open to looking at whatever. So as the conversation went, at one point, we raised the concept of maybe they might want to move their corporate headquarters here, which was not shot down by any means. Actually, it was much better received than we thought. Paul started his business here over at the Warehouse 72 or 78 or whatever it is here, and would love to move back to Cohoes. He has a precarious relationship with Albany. I'm softening it up for the records, and he would welcome that opportunity. So we are truly in the phase right now where they are back to the drawing board. So at that point, we agreed that expenditures minimally may have to start being done at this point. So we have a handshake agreement to move forward to the point of him coming back with performers, renderings, and what have you, and seeing if we truly are on the same page or not. So this is not initially what I had hoped for. As you know, I worked diligently with a developer looking to bring in a brewery and a manufacturing area. It breaks my heart because the developer, Tony, is ready to write the check and break ground tomorrow, but we cannot find a partnership for him. And he just, why would he expend millions of dollars when he can't get anybody to move. I believe he's always been sincere in doing his diligence. I've never felt that he's been pulling us along or whatever. I think he's as heartbroken as we are. I believe Pete has met with him on other matters, and he would like to continue to help in developing Cohoes. Meanwhile, I had other contacts that I work with, commercial real estate agents and that I've had out in the field looking for possible things. We did get a sign of life a couple of weeks ago that both First Columbia and BBL were suddenly interested in the fire sites. We went back and said, okay, you got a week or two, you got to give us something. I don't care if it's a paragraph on a piece of paper or something. We have nothing. And obviously both of those are going to be residential projects also. So my feeling, why I feel we should move forward, I'm not thrilled with it, but his work stands very well. I think it's well thought of in the city. Is that a fair statement through the building and code department and all that? If you're not familiar with it, is it Warehouse 78 or do you know the one right here?
71.
Whatever it is.
70 something.
Take a drive by. It's beautiful restoration of their old warehouse that they originally started the business in. Also, with the Cohoes Hotel, they did renovations on that. They're already approved and ready to move with 30 apartments. Anything that they do is market rate. There is no, subsidized housing, nothing. It's all high-end people. And that's one of the advantages. It's a chicken and egg. He will be bringing the density to downtown. These two projects alone could put 90 income earners into a downtown area that desperately need shoppers and people milling the streets. So I'm not thrilled. The reputation is outstanding. We're going to get a quality product. Nobody else is writing a check. Nobody else is knocking down our door. We have to be mindful it is 7 years. We have a fiduciary responsibility to our board where we have to pull our money out. We've been carrying this money as a bank for how many years? I should mention also, I don't feel it was an issue. I did up the offer. His offer was $200,000. I told him $250,000 was our minimum ask. He seemed to have no issue with that. But again, he's a
puts
business.
The first one even further away.
Right, and the first one was 120-ish. Yeah, so that was a real problem. Paul's a businessman. He's crunching the numbers now. He's going to come back, and at that point, he would probably want to meet with both the joint and our group. But that's I think that's a fair where we're at. So again, as always, we have to stay within the IDA. Our responsibility on this is, do we want to sell this property along with the co-development committee to a developer that we believe in good faith will do what he says? The transfer of the closing of the property would never take place until all municipal boards, planning commissions, historic panels, all that have been done. So we are really the fiduciary responsibility on this one. It's up to you guys to decide on how many apartments and how tall and what have you. So that's where we're at. I want to see Pete was in the meeting. If anything you want to kick in there.
No, I never met Paul and haven't worked with him on past projects here. And I'd say I was apprehensive.
He was.
I was apprehensive leaving that meeting. I think I even made the statement that, we're not destitute and we have one opportunity here with just one proposal, and maybe we shouldn't look at this as the golden ticket, but everyone moved forward with it. But I will admit, after meeting Paul and doing a little bit of research myself, I am pleased. 61 unit apartments is substantial. 4 stories is substantial for that corner, especially based on some studies that Joe Graves did and some meetings he did with community members. So, maybe it does require some tweaking, but I was welcomed by Paul's desire to work with us, work with the community, and then further work, for other projects that we may have put the plug in for as well. And,
That we don't
he's
wanna
here,
confuse
yeah.
things.
Yeah, right, he's here to invest
Yeah.
positively.
So with that, we're here to hear all opinions and voices and what have you.
I'd like to see a rendering of what's.
Oh, of course.
in-
Which is exactly what we left him with at
Yeah.
that meeting.
I mean, what's your plan, what you think it's gonna look like? And I still gotta ask, 60 apartments, if 30 of those people have cars, where are you gonna put them?
First floor.
That's,
It is.
that's,
That the initial design that they have is the 2 commercial areas will be on the ends.
Yeah.
And the first floor will all be parking.
Joe, what's the current code? Is that 1.5 spaces per
that
unit?
was one.
Is that
one down there.
downtown one?
But the issue is that unfortunately, past boards have given waivers for like the Cohoes Hotel. They gave them waivers because they were close to municipal parking. And the issue comes when you have more businesses that want to move into the Remsen Street into the empty storefronts, and they're looking for parking. Everybody uses the municipal parking, but there's only so many cars that can fit in that. And at some point in time, if you have a 60-unit apartment complex and there's not enough parking for that, and they're given a waiver for the municipal parking, then you're gonna have businesses that aren't gonna have people coming to them because they can't find parking.
With that said,
So, the devil's.
with that said, why we have no answers on that subject, we have always been well aware that Tommy Brennan, in those 3 locations he has, he would like to, whoever buys that property, work a deal with them. So,
Well, that would work.
right, so
But they've
why it's
been-
no answer that is on the table.
That's
today.
been an ongoing conversation for years. Okay, there's a lot of things I want
Yeah.
to say. The first is, the fire was 7 years ago, but we've had control of that property for a mere couple months. Okay, so we have not had control. We've not been able to pursue things until very recently, number one. Number two, this is an unusual opportunity for us. Typically, we're responding to businesses that want a pilot, they want something because they have a project. And so we deem if it's appropriate or not to incentivize that project. But we really don't have much to say about what the project is. We own this property.
Yep.
And we have everything to say about what happens on that property. And I really pushed for this meeting because I want the board to all consider this very carefully. And I am sad that we're missing several
So,
members, but it is what it is. I think I'd like to put the idea out there that the idea of the business district surviving because you've put apartments up over the commercial establishments is a total fallacy.
we agree with you, and Paul agrees with you.
Does not
We
really,
agree with you.
that does not work. And number one,
That's why we want to do parking.
it puts burden on parking. Beyond that, the aesthetics. Now, as I understand it, we're not supposed to have 4-story buildings on Remsen Street.
Well, I think it's 3 right now.
think it's out of character.
I think it's
And-
3.
And
He's
where I'm
looking
really
at-
going with this, there's 1 million people in the Capital District. And how long would your business survive if you had to rely on Remsen Street? How long would my business survive if we had to rely on Remsen Street? It wouldn't. We need to tap into the 1 million people, not the 60 that are maybe gonna live upstairs. So how do we tap into the 1 million people? And I always use Gus's as an example. Who would have ever expected that Gus's would draw people to Waterville national reputation as it does? So in my mind, number one, we don't want a 4-story building.
Okay, I
Number
think it's
two-
3. Let's get off the 4. It's
Number
3.
two-
We had only mentioned 4
Can I
stories
continue?
if he
Rodney,
would
please
move his
don't
company
interrupt.
here.
Please don't keep interrupting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I didn't interrupt you, I don't want you to interrupt me again. I don't want to see a big ugly building because perception is everything. You know, we want people throughout the Capital District at least to come to Cohoes, come to Remsen Street and have a good experience. If you can't park, that's not a good experience. If the building looks out of character, that's not a good experience. So we need to see something there that is really going to energize Remsen Street. And I don't think we have that. Now, let me also throw in there, I saw the Cohoes Hotel before and after, and he did a fantastic job. Okay, that sadly, in the short period of time that became something of a flop house, tremendous damage was done. He did a wonderful job. He does good work, no questions. Love to see us work with him. But I'd like the board to consider what other options there might be to do something there that's going to be an attraction. So it's in character, it's not exacerbating a parking problem, and it's really going to draw people. And going with the notion that, well, we're going to do this because we're going to bring in units, we don't, a very high-ranking official of the city of Cohoes, who's major in finance, quipped to me, the last thing Cohoes needs is more apartments. So I'd like to see us get off the apartments train and get on a track. We've got to find something that people are going to say, let's go to Cohoes and see this. And again, we've only had the property under our control for a few months. You know, I'm not ready, I suggest we don't give it up yet. We work it, and maybe Bonakisti would be the ideal person to work with. I don't want to go as far as to say a design competition, but I think there's ideas that are out there that could really do something that the Cohoes IDA will be really proud of, that we helped change Remsen Street by bringing something spectacular, because this is our only chance.
For the record, the last RFP, we collaborated with Albany Economic Development, and Kevin, I believe it was sent out to 1,500 developers.
Yeah, including the Broadview group.
So our first one originally went out to maybe 300. The second one went out to 1,500. We
Nationwide.
received no responses. And if you remember, both RFPs were focused heavily on non-residential and something as an attraction, as something off. Ralph, I agree with everything you're saying. It's all great until somebody writes a check.
I was excited when you came to the table, just like you were. But as I think about it, again, the last thing we want to do is make the parking situation worse. Because if you come to Remsen Street and you can't park, you're going, never coming again.
So what's an acceptable time we give for this out-of-the-box idea to come in? Which I'm all for.
Well, I don't see that we're in a hurry. So I'd hate to see it drag out another
Actually,
year.
through City Hall, I have pressure from City Hall that they want a building going up.
And that's lovely.
Steve has mentioned that in public.
We all would. But, you know, I would say at very least give it till the fall. I mean, give it a couple months, see, you know, even 2 months to see if we can.
And what's our plan that we're going to attract business? Again, I'm all for it.
Again, I think, I don't have the plan. I just say that we should develop one. I'm happy to help with that. I think, you know, we can get together with Pete and Sharon, with Steve, and we can, you know, think through. And maybe Bonakisti, maybe if we present this to him, this is the kind of thing that we would love to see happen. Because he's doing units, he's doing other things, he's experienced. Who knows? We haven't pursued that. We haven't stated really this idea, this concept of what we would really love to see happen.
But we have stated it.
Well, an RFP went out. I mean, let's say the timing of it was pathetic. I mean, bad timing for development, bad timing, all of it. And that was a little convoluted. That was also a little convoluted. We didn't have site control yet. So we had to be a little cagey about what we were doing.
Yeah, one we did, the second one the first one we didn't, the second one we did. The second one did go out certainly to a broad spectrum, a decent audience.
Across the state.
Like Rod, I don't disagree. You and I have had this conversation. The difficulty I have is it's bringing these forth after the meeting we've had to set. It's a little difficult to reel back in, because I do agree with you, and I mentioned it at that meeting, like maybe this shouldn't be the one we take. And everyone moved forward with it. I would probably have fought harder then than today. However, parking, yes, parking's an issue. You know, I think back to my Albany days when I owned a bar and restaurant out there, right on Madison Avenue. We'd go to Jack's, we'd go all sorts. Parking's an issue everywhere. Whether or not you have the parking isn't why people are going to stay here. It's whether or not you can offer them a reason to be here and stay here and come here. They're going to park on Main Street. They're going to park further down Remsen. They'll park on Columbia. They come to the show. How many people are coming to the show tonight? There's going to be parking everywhere. Why? Because they want to come to this show tonight. So you're right. We are missing the anchor. What is the anchor? I don't think it's the only chance we have. I think we have a lot of chances on Remsen. I think we have a great deal of chances on Ontario Street. I think this is a bigger problem than just developing Remsen correctly. It's a cultural issue we have in Cohoes that I won't get into here. But one unit apartment market rate is probably the best demographic we could get for someone that's going to spend and have disposable income.
It is, but what's 60 people?
Potentially 75 people, right? A young couple.
75. I've said it before, I bring 500 a week. 10 times what we're expecting. It really doesn't make that much
But
difference.
then-
We need something to draw them to Remsen. It's not, I don't think it's about putting the people in the building. It's about having something that people want.
You're right.
And so what we've been doing is backwards. We're looking for the apartments and we're not getting the draw.
But we're not looking for the apartments.
But that's what we're getting.
I so badly wanted to break ground.
But that's
on a
what we're
brewery.
getting, right?
That's what we're getting. That's what we're getting.
That's all we're
But
getting.
I also, I mean, again, I'll throw it, I think, I'd like to think out of the box a little on this. I mentioned it before. A good friend of mine on the LDC in Bolton Landing, they run the marina. Why? Because it was a way to open the lake up to the public. And so it's the kind of thing that's kind of a weird thing to do, but why? Because it opened up the door. And I think we maybe can't do it, but maybe the LDC could. But I understand that of the DRI money, there is going to be some funds available for community development.
There's fluff money.
$600,000.
600K.
Well, all of a sudden, that could change the game. If we had cooperation with the Community Development Office, that maybe together we could develop something to the point, I also think about Smith's. Smith's has a reputation, but it didn't go anywhere until there was an incentive. And a serious incentive in my mind was provided, as I understand it, a year of free rent. That made the difference. Could there be something like that? Is it possible that with an incentive from Community Development Office, some other grants or something else, we could make it palatable, that somebody would say, well, I can make that happen. I look at the power tank, and I was the first one to say, knock that building down. But maybe not. Maybe with an infusion of monies from the Community Development Office, we could see that redeveloped, and all of a sudden that becomes a bit of an attraction that turns the tides. I don't know. I'm not ready to give it up yet, and I want to see what the other board members think, and that's why I felt the meeting was important. And Ed initially thought they were talking about 6 units, not 60, 6.
Yes, they
And so I don't think
First
the
came up.
board had all of the information, under
Six.
the belt.
No, there was some eager reporter who had the whole, I don't know how they had all the information from our meeting, but they had it all, so
Really?
they were dead on everything, so.
They did a good job.
Yeah, I thought, because Steve was there, and I thought 6, how's he gonna make money with that? That's
Right.
cool. And then I'm reading my notes the next night, 60, wait a minute, we gotta stop. 60 is a whole new thing here.
Between the two projects, between the extension of the Cohoes Hotel and this, you would be bringing 90 earners, for lack of a better term, into downtown. Again, I wish it was 1,000, but what, it's chicken and egg here. My biggest problem, everybody, is I think Ralph is 1,000% right. Do you think we have the resources in our economic development department?
I'm not in that department, so.
Bingo. To do what you want, and I'm asking you honestly, Ralph.
Absolutely.
You do.
I
I don't have the time to put into this. I spent 6 months chasing developers around trying to get a brewery done. I mean, just because this is what you're seeing, Pete and I have been behind the scenes for a year, meeting with people. This isn't, we're discouraged too, but we're not discouraged that it's a reputable builder who, again, your department's gonna have the say in how it looks, what it looks like and what have you. That has nothing to do with the IDA. We are to look at, is this a financially feasible
It does.
property?
It has, this is our property. This isn't a pilot.
Correct.
This is our property, and so it does have to do with us, what it looks like with the building. We, on this occasion, do have a dog in the fight.
Okay, so we're a year from now and we're no different.
We try.
And Paul is on 3 other projects
We
now.
try.
He has responded to the look as well. He's talked about
Absolutely.
having an offset face showing like
Multiple different.
a smaller brownstone next to another, even though it's multiple apartments in there.
Troy, looking down Congress Street, I think they call them row houses there.
Yeah.
You see, it looks cool. Looks like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the concept. He actually referred to
Does
that
have
unit.
a historic aspect to it, because
Correct, and he's aware.
that's the historic district.
Right.
Right.
Well,
I'll tell you what, I go to, Andrea and I, we could talk about this. Andrea and I frequent 2 localities close to us here, Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and Hudson, New York. And there are, at any given time, Great Barrington, you could say thousands of people out on those streets with tiny little shops. It looks exactly like Remsen. Hudson, the same thing. And there is no one draw. It's restaurants and tiny little shops. It's the culture that we create to bring the people here. Go sit at the Daisy tonight, outside, and tell me if you want to come back. And the Daisy does a terrific job. Their food, their beverage, their price. But tell me if you want to come back with what you're going to witness sitting there.
I went for a haircut today, and the kid was walking down the street checking all the doors. Not a good look. But, again, I am the eternal optimist.
You are.
That's why you're on
If
this
we
board.
have a good building, Monarchy Street, interesting. We're talking about parking. Maybe a combination of him and community development and some of the funds that become available. You could turn the tide. I mean, we've talked about, Steve has mentioned it on numerous occasions. Well, you put the business on Remsen Street parking behind it. It has to be done right. It has to be safe and all that good stuff. So maybe a combination of some grant money and the city and Monarchy Street and the IDA. Maybe we could package it. And again, I'm not opposed to apartments, but the look is important.
The look.
And it has to be a draw. I mean, it has to be something interesting. It can't just be, let's the building on the corner of White and Remsen. Is that really doing anything for us? Monica's,
Well, to me, it looks better than a vacant lot.
it does, but it's not enough.
But what about 60 one-unit apartments with 70 people that take pride in curb appeal, that give a blank about their community, that are caring about the businesses that they're surrounded by, that are supporting their businesses because they have disposable income? We're opening more businesses to service them, right? So it has to, you're right, it's the chicken or the egg.
Well, but I did, when I said it's not the end game, but that's a good thing. That is a good thing, no question. But it's not good enough. I mean,
We can
I'm
always-
fine
we can
wherever
always
you
say
wanna
that.
go. We have to set a time limit because Paul's a businessman. He's got 9 other projects he'll move on to in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and we don't want him currently to expend any
No.
energy
No.
and money on
and,
this.
and the biggest business.
I mean, he's willing to do renderings. He certainly understands that he has to win over supporters and what have you. again, I'm a little concerned, we're almost dumbing down a project that we haven't even seen a performer on
Yeah, I'd like
or
to see
a
it
sketch.
firsthand.
Um,
Can he really get his
But
hands
at
on
the
the
same-
property and back for parking? for TNT?
Listen, I've met with Tommy.
Yeah.
He's ready and willing.
Just to sell it?
Oh, yeah, and he, Yeah.
Oh, no.
But
So
look at
does this developer want it? I mean, that's a big thing for me. If you could put parking
You
behind
seem to
there-
know about it.
well, frankly, if I were that developer, I'd make it another first floor of parking and some more apartments above that.
But when that comes down, we're massaging it to make it the best.
And that's exactly how our meeting went, just so you understand.
But, again.
But there's more massaging.
Oh, yeah.
massaging.
There is more
But we have to have
massaging.
a point to start.
Well, before he starts spending money on.
No, he doesn't mind what he's doing in the first round.
You know, let's.
We have to have something
Let's
to,
push this.
we have to have something to look at.
Let's something to look at. What's your idea? You know,
Right.
And look, I've reached out about putting a master plan together for the IDA. So it appears that we need to do it internally because no one else wants to.
But then that master plan can't go against City Hall. We can't be our own agency here, guys.
Well, we are an independent agency, and I did
We
send
are
the
an
email.
independent agency
Didn't
to
get a
a point.
response.
with some influence.
Well, in a sense, I'm supporting City Hall, right? We have codes, we have plans, and I'm saying, let's stick to them. Let's not give waivers.
And here's why we do a master plan, because when we get our next plot of land, when we begin to strategize the next piece of parcel that we want to own, we know where we want to go with it and why we want to go there. And that's why it's necessary.
How many
Yes,
times
City
have you
Hall
asked-
needs to be a part of
How
it,
many times have you asked for help on it?
but then we need to be the separate agency that we are.
But then we're stepping on City Hall's toes and I get called in and get reprimanded. I do. I mean, I'm sorry, guys, I do. It's not a joke.
I get it.
You don't need it.
I missed
You
that
don't need
meeting.
it.
Well,
Thank you.
I couldn't make that meeting.
you have,
Huh?
I said, I never called you any, that's it.
Right, can I say something?
Yeah.
Sorry. For you that don't know me, I'm the second ward councilman, Sean Higgins. And when I came into office in January, my first, two of my priorities were, one, to get public safety back a little bit more unified. A lot of issues with fire department, police department. We're working on that, as you've seen with the ambulance system. My other one was to work with the businesses on Remsen and in my ward. So the second ward encompasses all of the business district, mostly Remsen and, parts of Ontario and stuff like that. And thanks to Jaron, Frankie, for helping us market independently, the businesses now in Cohoes are seeing some of their top earning months that they've seen in years. We rebranded to Cohoes, and this is what we've done on an independent level. This is nothing that the city's done. This is just us councilmen independently meeting with business owners to try to rebrand the city. I grew up in Hudson. When I grew up in Hudson, I was getting shot at as a young kid. Now, my best friend is the mayor of Hudson, and they rebranded it into an amazing place. Leonardo DiCaprio's there, antique shops, amazing restaurants. It's a beautiful area. And the people in the city are now enthusiastic about trying to build up the city. The Democratic views is housing. The mayor, his views, housing. We're in legislation right now about Airbnbs and short-term rentals. The mayor doesn't want to see them because he wants more housing. He wants more full-time housing. So that's what the city's going to ask for. They're going to say, we want housing. We want people paying taxes. We want people visiting the stores. We want people going to the music hall, rock block, things like that. But the businesses, thanks to the people that care, we've created a small group. And now some of the businesses are seeing more foot traffic than they've ever seen. Vintage Addiction last month, they've been here 2 years. It was the busiest month they've ever seen. Alicia Phillips, almost came to Cohoes. She started a knock walk every month, and it's bringing hundreds of people to the city, and it's slowly bringing the city into art and music, culture. Yes, there is a lot of stuff that the city has to do. I agree. you know, the look of the city is terrible. Dirty streets, you know, the beautification stuff we've lacked this year. The crime, the police department's 6 short. We're working on a contract to hopefully bulk up the numbers, to get more police on the street, but there is crime. I don't know if you've seen on Facebook the previous, you know, 2 weeks, they've had a lot of juvenile issues, stealing money and trying to break into McDonald's restaurants and stuff like that. So, as the council's part, you know, we're trying to do what we can to advocate. for what-
Absolutely, you've got to have clean and safe, or you don't have anything.
Absolutely.
Without clean and safe, forget it.
But if you listen to everything he described, it's a cultural change, and it's on the ground. It's the people, it's the boots on the ground that need to do that. Do the owners of the businesses feel safe about what they're offering? Do they feel safe about inviting people to their community? And that's where the change needs to be implemented. And you and I may not feel that change because we're on the run and we're moving and we're hustling and traveling, but it will. When it reaches you and I, that's when we know it really took effect. And I think it's coming. It is coming.
I saw, I believe they were kids here from Park Playhouse. It looked like the theater room. And I saw a couple families coming out of the building, and it's like, yeah, that's great. Those are people we want. And so if it's clean and safe, those people are going to be happy and they're going to want to come again. You got to have.
So that's something to touch on. I don't think it's gotten enough fanfare yet out of City Hall. So Owen moved 21 shows from Park Playhouse to the music hall. We're doing the parking lot, and he's bringing minimum 200 people every show, be it at 1 in the afternoon or 7 at night, 21 times. It is one of the best things that Cohoes has ever had happen to it. And the fact that he's so relieved now he never has to look at a weather report anymore, I think it will only grow from here.
But let's pick up on that. And
That's been a huge engine though.
And I don't mean to make this a beat up session, but what have we done? What has our community, our administration done to embrace that?
Well,
Zero.
You know, when Choose
Zero.
Cohoes first started, the businesses met on a regular basis, got to know each other, talked to each other, and there was marketing done. And there, you know, quarterly publications, calendars.
I used to put those out as treasurer.
Pardon?
I used to put those out as treasurer. I sent them with your tax bill.
So we were pulling businesses together and we were talking and, you know, and there's a lot going on.
But John McDonald, George Primo, and Sean all funded economic development. There is zero in the budget for economic development other than salaries.
Like I said, it's independent, us independently. doing it.
Yeah.
We're
He started this because of the frustrations I was
Well,
saying.
The marketing was paid for by a national grid.
I'm just saying, the point.
Well, they're all out there. They exist, right?
So
The problems and the
One's
solutions that you're talking about, unfortunately, aren't the IDA.
Right.
No,
And you're giving,
I'm going back to.
again, you're right on everything you're saying, but you're giving you're giving us a 10-year proposal on a 6-month solution we need. You know,
Listen, why don't we, have another meeting with Paul Bonaquisti, or maybe I'll start an email string. We should probably do it.
Look at the difference.
What do you think, Jeff?
Schenectady right now, that's.
I agree, I don't think it should be.
People are going to Schenectady.
You what?
They did
I don't
a
think it
really
should
good
be
job
61
on over State Street
Yeah.
and all the way over to Union. It's safe. They've got a lot of restaurants that have opened, they've got that arcade area where it comes right out at the Proctor's and it starts at City Hall.
That took some time. That took some time for Schenectady. It took them a lot of
2
time.
decades
Nobody wants to go to all that right now.
in a funding program that we could only dream of.
Mr. Chair, I don't
Well-
know if you heard Jeff's comment.
I agree with, I don't agree with 61 apartments.
Okay,
And 60, that's a lot.
agreed. We're assuming that's the formula that he can to make money.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know yet.
And that's in the 3 stories, you can still do 60.
Yeah, the only reason the 4-story came up was I had thrown it out saying, would you consider putting because he wants the first floor for parking. Would you consider a second floor to move your corporate headquarters and 20 full-time employees here? Because I think that would change everybody's opinion.
And his plan does not include taking down the power cane, rather than trying to do something with it.
It
Yes,
does include taking it down, unfortunately.
He is taking all the parcels.
all parcels.
And is he looking for any pilots or?
I can't give you an answer on that because he is a recipient, and I'm probably talking out of school, but,
Well, for the other property.
right,
Not in this-
I know, but that would all, so on the 39 apartments or 29 apartments that he was looking at, he was supposed to get $1.5 million from the state through the DRI funding.
This was the Cohoes Hotel.
Correct.
Cohoes Hotel.
Yeah, phase 2 there, yeah.
I believe he may walk away from that. So I don't know how those numbers are going to then shake out from there. I don't have an answer for you. But dealing with the state has been challenging. And he needs to build the building and can't keep waiting for signatures that he's been promised for 2 years. So I don't know how all that's going to shake out, to be honest. We did discuss pilots with him, let's put that on the table. And under no circumstances would it be anything other than our standard 10-year. So, that he knows. The only way we would ever consider a variation to that was if he moved his corporate headquarters here and 20 full-time employees.
And if I remember correctly, Kate responded when somebody asked about contract for sale, can't mention pilot. So
Correct.
Right.
pilot can't-
And he knows all
Can't
that.
be contingent on.
Right.
can't be contingent.
So, I would like to go through the next step with him and have him bring in his renderings and his
Yes.
pro forma.
Definitely.
I think you will find him to be quite receptive to ideas. He wants it to work. He wants it to be well received. Obviously, as and we didn't bring it up, but I would also like to do, if we're going to do that, can we do condos? Have a stake in ownership,
Beautiful. Yep.
But again, we're just at a handshake of just go make a pretty picture and give us some basic ideas. But again, he actually loved the idea exchange around the table.
Yeah.
He was taking notes left and right, and he gets it too. And he gets that pilots aren't popular, and it's what he does for a living.
These have to be win-win. Whether or not we could feel sorry for ourselves that we don't have what we want on Remsen, or it doesn't look the way. We want to invite investors and developers, and we want to make sure it benefits them greatly. We can't be greedy about that because that's how we continue to benefit.
Is that Robert you were saying?
Who's the drummer?
You can feel that bass drum here all the way down. And that's the thing. We can't, this lot can't stay empty forever. And we do have to have a realistic period of time that we want to hold out for. Because again, I think when you meet him in person, Paul is the example of a businessman. And he's 3 projects down the road when you're talking with him.
My brother-in-law was a president of Aluminium Steel.
Yeah,
And one thing I remember him saying is time kills all deals.
exactly. And it does.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'd like to thank all of you for your hard work and dedication to, night and day and plus to the city.
So you won't vote to get rid of us when we don't.
Only right.
there are only 2. They're still the minority. I understand it's a bi-monthly exec session they have.
All right.
Okay, good.
All right, at this
See
point,
what
I'll
you
call
got.
for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you.
Ralph,
I think we
Thank you.
need him.
Ron, thank you.
Jeff,
Thank you,
second.
guys. Thank you.
What we're looking at, like a month of call, 6 weeks.
Well, I'll reach out in that email and get